Dharma Bites is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
And that's because we can't really think outside of our own experience. And the problem is precisely that enlightenment is beyond anything we've experienced. So there are many instances in the Pali Canon when the Buddha is asked about enlightenment and he says, just don't think about it. You won't understand, you'll just get the wrong idea, just don't think about it. Elsewhere in the Udana, so elsewhere in the same work, he elaborates on this theme in the parable of the elephant. In this story, a king decides to have some fun, in a rather cruel way I always think, but anyway, he decides to have some fun by rounding up a handful of blind men and allowing them to touch an elephant. So one of these men is allowed to get hold of the trunk of the elephant, and another one is allowed to touch the leg, and another one gets hold of the tail, and another one gets the ears, or one of the ears. These men have never experienced an elephant before. They don't know what an elephant is. And having been allowed limited access to this elephant, they're all asked to describe what an elephant is. So the one that's been allowed to handle the trunk says the elephant is a huge snake. The one that's been allowed to hold the leg says the elephant is a great tree trunk. The one that held the ear says the elephant is a fan, and so on, you can imagine. I mean, there's lots of different answers to what an elephant is, depending on what it is that you touched when you were allowed to touch the elephant. So in other words, each of them decides that the elephant is something that he already knows, because it's incredibly difficult to imagine something, to conceive of something that you just don't know. And because we only have our past experience to build on, that's what we tend to do when we think about enlightenment. We tend to try to make it into something we already know. And the Buddha knew that was a tendency, he knew that was a danger, so he didn't often talk about it.
We hope you enjoyed today's Dharma Bite. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.